Mike White, you better count your days, you mother. You're walking crooked. Anyway, now that I got that off my chest, you are a genius. You are the writer that we all needed. Mike White has such a talent for writing characters. I don't think you can say that any of the characters he's ever written on this show are bad characters. They might be bad people, but they're written so richly and so, oh my goodness, I'm so envious of his ability to just capture people's voices, different people's voices. Just so talented. But we need to talk about this finale because he broke my heart. He broke my heart. The two people that I wanted to make it out of the season alive, and you just killed them. You little. I need to compose myself. I need to compose myself. But why? I just gotta say, Chelsea and Rick have been the most heartbreaking deaths on this show. They were just so perfect for each other, and I don't know, a part of me was hopeful that they had found some renewed love and they found some renewed energy. And I thought that Walton Goggins' character, Rick, had moved past his childhood traumas and he could finally be open to Chelsea's love. But he couldn't. And it just goes to show how the things that affect us as children really do haunt us for the rest of our lives, and we really need to work on overcoming them. Otherwise, we might end up dead. It might consume us. But I gotta say, when they were eating breakfast, Chelsea mentions that they're gonna be together the rest of their lives. And then Rick says, that's the plan. I had the same exact reaction as Chelsea. My heart, I audibly sighed. I've never swooned so hard, and I've never rooted for love this hard. It was just such a sweet thing to say, and probably the most romantic thing I have ever seen on TV or movies. It just really hit deep. And then things go terribly off the rails. He sees the man who he thinks to this point killed his father. And by the way, I was right. That is his father. I knew it. I mean, it was pretty obvious, but still. Called it from the beginning. As soon as he said that he wasn't missing out on much meeting his father, I knew that he was definitely his father. Like, that was 100% certain. But bro, you couldn't have told him that, and you could have avoided all of this situation. He was just not a good person, and he's right. You know what, Walton Goggins? You ended up not missing out by having this, but it ended up costing you your future with Chelsea, and it's just so heartbreaking. And now let's talk about their deaths, because I think when Chelsea died, my heart just broke. She was my favorite character. She was everyone's favorite characters, and I think this definitely earns Amy Lou Wood her Emmy nomination. But it was just such a tragic love story, and it was so... And I understood exactly why Mike White did what he did. It didn't mean that I liked him any better for it, but I respected him as a writer so much for it. And it was just so heartbreaking. And when he was carrying her, and then Gaitok, who is all about nonviolence and whatnot, not being a security guard and wanting to change his life, and shoots Rick with Amy Lou Wood in his arms. First off, Gaitok, you will never know peace on earth. I hate you. First off, he saw Rick carrying Chelsea, and he didn't stop to be like, whoa, you need help? He heard shots. It took him forever to get there. And then when the hotel owner said he went that way, he just immediately guessed that it was the first person he saw that was the shooter. I mean, he was right, but still, you need to do a little bit more research. Like, he's carrying someone injured. Maybe he was a victim of the shooter, which he was, kind of, but not really. He was the one who... Whatever. Anyway, let's not get into that. But still, he's just like, oh, okay, I see this person. I'm going to shoot them. And then he does. He hesitates for a little bit, but he ends up doing it, and it ends up working out for him in the long run. He gets the girl. He gets the job. And that is one of the things that I didn't love about this season finale, is that all the bad guys seemingly won. But I understood it. And that's what makes this so heartbreaking, is that I understood why each ending ended the way that it did. But it just, oh my goodness. Mike White, you brilliant man. Now, we need to talk about Carrie Coon's monologue, because I think she just secured her Emmy win with that monologue. It was a really beautiful piece that I'm still trying to understand. It had a very emotionally charged impact on me. Like, I started tearing up during that whole monologue. And when she said that time is what gives life meaning, it it all hit me so suddenly and so strongly. And it's such a strange thing because I don't think like intellectually I completely understand what the monologue is trying to say. I understand a lot part of it, but it did affect me emotionally listening to it. And it felt so revelatory of not just the characters, but of myself. And I'm waiting for the intellectual part of me to catch up with my heart in understanding the monologue and for them to fully understand the weight of the words that she said. But Mike White, again, I feel like I'm going to say this multiple times, but Mike White, you're a freaking genius. And yes, I like that the friends ended up, working it out in the remix. Now we need to talk about the Ratliffs, because the Ratliffs, what a roller coaster that was. First off, Jason Isaacs' character was drugged out of his mind, and you can tell he wasn't in the right headspace. I find it so interesting because the purpose of Jason Isaacs' character is the opinion of his family. He's viewed as this leader. He always wants to maintain that image with his family, and he knows that once they get home, reality is going to set in. They're going to lose everything because of his action, and he's going to change in the eyes of his children and his wife. He would rather kill them than have that happen. I think it shows you, and it really kind of highlights the myth of strength and the patriarchy. It's a very fascinating thing that happens, but he ends up not going through with it. He doesn't shoot anyone, but he gives them all pina coladas that are spiked with the poisonous seed. And of course, he changes his mind, which is good, but he leaves some of that residue in the blender, and then Lochlan the next morning makes a protein smoothie in that same dirty blender, which, by the way, ew. You kind of deserve to be poisoned. You weren't poisoned by the seeds. You would have gotten food poisoning either way. So, but yeah, Lochlan drinks a protein smoothie from that same blender and gets poisoned, and he seemingly dies. And you have this whole death sequence with, and you think he's going to be the one who dies in the season. But then at the end, after the shooting and everything, he resurrects, twink resurrection, I guess, and he comes back. But I will say, I'm a little mad at Mike White because he made me tear up for this demon twink. And honestly, huge shout out to Sam Nivolo. He does a great job. But yeah, the Ratliffs are going to be forever changed by this journey. Piper realizes that she's not as different from her family as she had hoped she was. Lochlan's little speech about being a pleaser, absolutely horrifying and hilarious. But I do think that Saxxon is the one who has had the most growth throughout this season. I really do think Chelsea made such a deep impact on him as a character, as a person. And for that, in a way, Chelsea will always live on in the way that she touched those around her. And I think that that's so beautiful. But yeah, he seems to be on the path to being a slightly better person, or as good of a version of himself as he can be. The dad finally accepted that he's not always going to be looked at or admired by his family, especially after the revelations when they get back home. And Parker Posey's character pretty much stayed the same, but the thing about her character is she always knew who she was, so she didn't have to find herself like the other people in her family. She was kind of the only one who knew who she was, which is so beautiful. And I do think, might be a wild theory, but I do think that she might come back to the White Lotus at some point because her character is just too good. And I don't think she's going to let her husband losing everything that they have change her lifestyle. I think she's too accustomed to it, and she's going to find a different way. Now, one of the twists that I kind of didn't see coming is Belinda turning into Tanya. That, I saw someone put up a scene of the end of season 1 and this season 3 ending of her talking to her situationship and being like, I actually can't open this ball, things have changed, to Tanya talking to her and being like, some things have changed, I can't open this ball with you anymore. And I think that's a very smart character arc for her. I might not love it. I really wanted Greg to get his comeuppance, but it seems like for the time being, he's going to be fine. But we'll see. I do think it is kind of interesting to see how much good Tanya's death ended up doing for other people, more so than if she would have stayed alive. But yeah, season 3 of The White Lotus was such a fun experience, such a fun time. Would love to hear everyone's thoughts on the season 3 finale. How sad are you at Chelsea and Rick's death? I mean, they kind of were Endgame, unfortunately, but I didn't mean Endgame by dying. But yeah, really amazing season. I really do think that the actresses kind of carried this show. Emmy nominations for Carrie, Coon, Leslie Bibb, Amy Lou Wood, Parker Posey, and then that fifth spot, probably Michelle Monaghan. Why not? Or Natasha Rothwell. I think I like her character. So probably those would be my 5 Emmy noms for them. For the guys, really, I think the people who made most of an impact were Saxxon, Rick, Sam Rockwell and Sam Nivolo, Lochlan's character. But I honestly can't wait for White Lotus season 4. At the end of this episode, Mike White was talking about wanting to get away from the waves hitting the rock motifs that have been through all of the other seasons. So I'm assuming that means he might go somewhere colder, maybe a ski resort, call Gwyneth Paltrow, or call her lawyer, I guess. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on the White Lotus season 3 finale.